Imagine a busy port in Greece called Piraeus. Not long ago, it was a quiet place. But then, in 2010, a big Chinese company named Costco started to invest. They put a lot of money into the port, building new parts and making it much better. Before this, Piraeus was not a very important port in the world. Now it is one of the top ports, handling many more ships and goods. This change brought more jobs and helped the local economy. However, some workers had concerns about their jobs, and other countries began to watch this Chinese project closely, feeling a little worried. Thousands of kilometers away, in the country of Laos, another big change happened. A new train line now runs through the mountains. This railway connects the capital city, Vientiane, to the border with China. Before, traveling this distance took a whole day, maybe even more, by car. Now, the train makes the journey in just a few hours. This helps people travel faster and makes it easier for businesses to move their products. But this train project was very expensive for Laos, a country that is not rich. It borrowed a lot of money from China to build it, causing some people to worry about a new debt. These two stories, the busy port in Greece and the fast train in Laos, are not separate. They are both parts of a very big plan. This plan comes from China and is called the Belt and Road Initiative, or BRI. China's leader, President Xi Jinping, started this huge project in 2013. The BRI aims to connect countries across Asia, Europe, and Africa. Over 150 countries are now part of the BRI. This project affects a large part of the world's people and money. So, what exactly is this Belt and Road Initiative? Why is China spending so much money and effort on building all these projects in so many different places? And how will this big plan change the world and the way countries work together in the future? This book will try to answer these important questions. 2. China's Big Plan. China has a very big plan called the Belt and Road Initiative. It wants to connect many parts of the world. This plan has two main parts. One part is called the Silk Road Economic Belt. This is a land route. It involves building things like new roads, railways, and energy pipelines. These projects connect countries in Central Asia, Southeast Asia, Pakistan, and India. The other part is called the 21st Century Maritime Silk Road. This is a sea route. China invests in improving ports along the Indian Ocean, reaching from Southeast Asia through East Africa to some parts of Europe. President Xi Jinping started this plan in 2013. It is a huge global project. More than 150 countries are now part of it. These countries are found on almost every continent, including Africa, Europe, and Latin America. Together, they represent a large portion of the world's people and its economic activity. China has invested a lot of money, over 1.3 trillion US dollars, in these projects since the start. In the year 2024 alone, China signed new deals worth over $120 billion. China says the main goal of the plan is to help all countries work together. It speaks about win-win cooperation and shared prosperity. China wants to make countries more connected through trade and travel. It also says the plan helps to build friendship and improves economies and societies. China states that this is an economic cooperation initiative for development, not a way to form political alliances. The big idea is to build a community with a shared future for mankind. The projects under this plan are very diverse. Many focus on energy, like building new power plants. Others are for better transportation, such as high-speed railways and modernizing ports. Digital infrastructure, like fiber-optic internet cables and data centers, is also a growing part of the plan. These projects aim to make trade easier and help people and goods move faster across different continents and oceans. 3. Why China is doing this. China is building the Belt and Road Initiative for important reasons related to its economy, its global power, and its government's goals. First, economic reasons are key. China's factories make a lot of products, like steel and cement. Sometimes they make more than China can use, which is called overcapacity. The Belt and Road Initiative helps China sell these extra products to other countries. These nations need new roads, bridges, and ports. This keeps Chinese factories busy and many people employed. It also helps China grow its technology, not just heavy industry. China also needs a lot of oil and gas. Most of it comes by sea through one narrow passage, which can be risky. Belt and road projects like new pipelines create safer ways to get these resources on land. Second, China wants to become a more powerful country in the world. Western nations have long been the most influential. China aims to change this. The Belt and Road offers a new way for countries to develop. China provides money for projects without asking countries to change their governments or human rights policies. Many developing countries like this approach. Former U.S. Secretary of State Henry Kissinger said, "The BRI aims to shift the world's center of gravity towards Asia." Also, some new ports and railways could have dual uses for both trade and China's Navy, strengthening its presence in key sea areas. Third, this project is very important for China's leader, President Xi Jinping. He wants to make China strong and proud again. The Belt and Road is his main plan to show China's global leadership. This project is now a key part of China's rules and very important for the government's legitimacy. It also makes Chinese people proud by linking modern China to its history, like the old Silk Road. Furthermore, it helps China's less developed Western regions by connecting them to international markets. In summary, China pursues the Belt and Road Initiative to solve economic problems, increase its global influence, and strengthen its political leadership. 4. A success story in Greece. The Piraeus port in Greece has an important story about change. Before the year 2010, this port was not doing well. It was a struggling place and ranked number 93 among all ports in the world. Its old systems were not good, and it was not using its prime spot in Europe well. Then a big change happened. A Chinese company called COSCO came to Piraeus. In 2010, COSCO started to manage two parts of the port. By 2016, COSCO had most of the power over the whole port. The company put 600 million euros into the port. This money helped buy new machines, make the port bigger, and update how things worked. After these changes, the port became very busy and successful. It could handle many more containers, from 1.5 million to 6.2 million each year. This made Piraeus one of Europe's best ports and put it in the top 40 worldwide. It became a key part of China's big plan, the Belt and Road Initiative, often called the Dragon's Head in Europe. This success brought many good things. The investments created more than 3,000 direct jobs and 10,000 indirect jobs. It also brought 1.4 billion euros to the local economy. This helped businesses in Piraeus and brought more money to the area. However, the changes also brought some problems. Workers at the port often went on strike. They said their pay was too low and they worried about safety. Environmental groups were also unhappy. They said COSCO did not talk with local people about its plans to make the port even bigger. Other countries, like the United States, also had worries. They said that China controlling such an important port in Europe could affect NATO and European Union interests. There were even times when Greece did not agree with the European Union in criticizing China, which made some people think China's money was influencing Greece's choices. 5. A problem in Sri Lanka. The story of Hambantota Port in Sri Lanka shows a different side of the Belt and Road Initiative. Many people see this port as an example of a debt trap. This is when a country borrows a lot of money from China and then cannot pay it back. Critics say China then takes control of important things, like a port. Sri Lanka started building Hambantota Port in 2007. Experts said the port might not make enough money, but Sri Lanka's president wanted to build it in his home area. Other countries and banks did not want to lend money for it because they thought it was too risky. So Sri Lanka asked China for help. China gave Sri Lanka over $1 billion in loans. The interest rate was high. The port was built, but it did not earn enough money from ships to pay back these loans. Ships preferred to use the older, bigger port in Colombo. Sri Lanka faced big money problems and could not pay its debts. In 2017, Sri Lanka agreed to lease the Hambantota port to a Chinese company for 99 years. This deal gave Sri Lanka over $1 billion in cash. Many people then said China had trapped Sri Lanka in debt. They believed China lent money for a project that would fail, so China could later take it.
But the real story is not so simple. Sri Lanka was in trouble with many different loans, not just China's. Sri Lanka asked for this deal to get money to pay off other debts, including those from Western countries. Also, China did not truly take the port. Sri Lanka still owns the land. The Chinese company only leases and operates the port. Sri Lankan officials have said that this deal helped them with their debt problems. So, the Hambantota story is not simple. It shows how borrowing money, bad planning, and hard choices can make things very complicated for a country and its partners. 6. People and the planet. The Belt and Road Initiative brings big changes affecting people and the environment. We can see this clearly in projects along the Mekong River and with the new railway in Laos. The Mekong River is vital for millions of people in Southeast Asia. They depend on it for fishing and farming. But China has built many large dams upstream. These dams alter the river's natural flow. They trap important mud and dirt that normally fertilize farms and keep riverbanks strong downstream. This loss of mud can damage farmland and lead to riverbank erosion. The dams also badly affect fish populations. Fish need to move freely to reproduce and find food, but dams block their paths. As a result, fish numbers have dropped greatly. Many local communities, like fishermen in Cambodia, have lost their main way of living. They used to catch fish for food and to sell, but now they find very few. Their traditional livelihoods are disappearing. In Laos, the China-Laos Railway offers another example. This railway connects the capital to the Chinese border, cutting a 15-hour car journey to less than 4 hours. This faster travel helps people and businesses. Goods can move quicker, which boosts trade. It has also helped increase tourism. However, this big project came with downsides. The railway cost $6 billion, a huge amount for Laos, about 1/3 of its entire economy. Laos borrowed much of this money from China, creating a significant debt. Also, to build the railway, over 300 families were forced to leave their homes. Many of these families are still waiting for full payment for their lost land. While some jobs were created, many technical roles were filled by Chinese workers, not locals. These examples show the dual impact of Belt and Road projects. They offer better travel and business chances, but can also hurt the environment and disrupt many people's lives. 7. How the world answers. America and Europe watched as China's Belt and Road Initiative grew worldwide. They worried about China's increasing influence. Because of this, they began to create their own plans to help build things in other countries. In 2021, leaders from major democracies met and announced the Build Back Better World B3W. This plan was presented as a more open and fair way to fund large building projects in developing countries. B3W promised to get $600 billion for infrastructure projects by 2027. It focused on projects that were good for the climate, used new digital technology, and supported health and equality. The plan later changed its name to the Partnership for Global Infrastructure and Investment. The European Union also started its own plan called Global Gateway, promising 300 billion euros. However, these Western plans often move slowly. They have many rules and take more time to start building than China's projects. Despite these new plans, many developing countries still choose to work with China. These nations have a great need for new roads, ports, and power plants. Often, China offers money for projects when other countries cannot or will not. Chinese projects also tend to start and finish faster. Leaders in these countries often appreciate that China usually does not tell them how to run their governments or set many political conditions for its investments. Even so, some countries, like Malaysia, have successfully changed their agreements with China to get better terms or lower costs. This situation has led to a big debate. Is China truly helping these countries grow, or is it trying to control them? Some people say China uses debt trap diplomacy. They believe China lends money for projects that poor countries cannot afford, then takes control of important assets when the loans cannot be repaid. Others argue that this idea is not fair. They say China offers large, fast investments that developing countries need, and that Western countries also have a history of setting strict conditions on their loans. Research often suggests that most Chinese projects are driven by economic reasons, not by a plan to trap countries in debt. Countries around the world have different reactions to China's plan. In Central Asia, many countries welcome China's help, as it connects them to global markets and reduces their reliance on other powerful nations. In Southeast Asia, some countries like Laos and Cambodia openly accept Chinese investment. But others, such as Vietnam and the Philippines, are more cautious due to long-standing disagreements. In Europe, especially in Eastern countries, China's investments are sometimes welcomed. However, even Italy, which was one of the first Western nations to join the initiative, later withdrew, showing growing carefulness about China's role. This shows that the world is still learning how to respond to China's big global plan. 8. The Road to the Future. The Belt and Road Initiative, BRI, has brought many changes to the world, both good and bad. On the positive side, it has created new ways for countries to connect. For example, the port in Piraeus, Greece, became much bigger and busier with Chinese help, creating thousands of new jobs. The new railway in Laos has made travel and trade much faster for people there. These projects have helped some nations improve their economies and get closer to global markets. This drive for new infrastructure has certainly brought many physical improvements and created economic opportunities for millions. However, the BRI has also faced many problems. Some countries, like Sri Lanka, took large loans for projects but then found it very difficult to pay them back, leading to concerns about debt traps. There have been environmental worries too, especially with dams on the Mekong River, which have harmed fish populations and the livelihoods of local people. Workers in places like the Greek port also protested about pay and safety. Some projects also made people move from their homes. These challenges show that growth can come with significant costs. Now, China is trying to make the BRI better, calling it BRI 2.0. This new phase focuses on building projects that are more sustainable for the environment and financially sound. China has started to invest more in clean energy projects like solar power and has promised to stop building new coal power plants overseas. They are also working to reduce debt risks and talk more with local communities to make sure projects meet their real needs. For example, green energy investments reached nearly $12 billion in 2024, a big increase. The BRI has already created big, lasting changes around the globe. It has reshaped how different countries trade and cooperate. It has also shown China's increasing influence and power in the world. This large project is like a huge test, changing how countries interact economically and politically. It shows that roads, ports, and railways are not just about transport. They are also about building new connections, shared interests, and sometimes new challenges for global power. The future of the Belt and Road Initiative is still developing. Its success or failure will greatly affect global trade, development, and international relations for many decades to come. What do you think?
Will the Belt and Road Initiative ultimately bring more good or bad outcomes for the countries involved in the long run?
Hey there! Just a second before you go. If you learned something new today, please give this video a like, write your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to the channel. It only takes a second, and it really, really helps to create even better English videos for you. Your support means the world. Thank you.